Okay. Hi guys. Today we are going to see about RDS. So RDS is a service that is provided by AWS. So we'll start up with that. So if we go across service that has been provided by Amazon, there are a lot of services that has been provided by Amazon. But in that, a complete special thing that we need to note for IT infrastructure provisioning and database maintenance is RDS service. So what is RDS? So RDS is a service provided by Amazon Web Services. So Amazon Relational Database Services, otherwise known as RDS, is a web service that makes it easier to set up, operate, and scale a relational database in the cloud. So we are talking about RDS here. So before to that, we need to know what is a database, right? So database is nothing but a Excel sheet that we are using in a high purpose and for high performance. So for example, relational databases are what we most of us use to do in our Excel sheet. So a database is Excel sheet, consider an Excel sheet with the tables, rows, with fields as columns. So the same database that has been provided as a service by AWS. So that is known as relational database services in Amazon Web Services. So it is easier to set up, operate, and scale a database in the cloud. So Amazon is giving everything for rental purpose. That is a database inside the cloud. So why does they are providing this? It provides a cost-effective, resizable capacity for an industry standard relational database and manages common database administration tasks. So freeing up the developers to focus on what makes their applications and business unique. So instead of concentrating more on database instances or the servers that has been positioned in the data center, Amazon, what they are giving is they're giving you a database that you did not to be provisioned and you not do any maintenance. The only thing is you have to go and build up your tasks on the database and keep on increasing your data fields in the database. So Amazon RDS gives you access to the capabilities of MySQL. So MySQL is a database that has been provisioned, that has been provided as free, and MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and Microsoft SQL Server. What is that Microsoft SQL Server is MS SQL Server. So MS SQL is a product of Microsoft. Using Amazon Web Services in RDS, you can install a licensed version of MS SQL, and we have a licensed version of Oracle database running inside RDS, or you have an Amazon owned Aurora database server. So this is owned by Amazon and it is a proprietary software of Amazon. So these capabilities mean that the code application and the tools you already use today with your existing database work, but instead of using your existing database servers, you are using with RDS without any modification and no other changes. Only the thing that you are going to do is you're going to provision a database in the cloud. So Amazon RDS, what are the advantages here if you are thinking of why you need to go to RDS in Amazon? Can I go for the same thing in a normal conventional data center? So what is the advantages? Amazon RDS automatically backs up your database and maintains the database software that powers your DB instances. So usually if you are in a conventional data center, you need to provide a license for your database and you need to maintain your database, and every year you need to upgrade your database. For example, if there's a database version it is running currently on your server is 6. So when database version 7 comes up, you need to manually go and upgrade your database. You need to do a lot of maintenance things, but here it is not like that. So Amazon is taking care of your database. The whatever versions it's getting upgraded, it can be automatically upgraded or you can do it manually. So this is a flexible point. You can scale your DB instance, compute resources in AWS, storage capacity to meet your applications on demand. For example, you are having you are maintaining a bank database inside your conventional data center. So a bank has started, and the consumers or the customers of the bank will keep on increasing from the start date. So what you will be able to do in the conventional data center is you need to keep on increasing your compute resources depending upon the demand. So if you have 100 customers, you are provisioning a server which is of capacity for handling 100 customers. But as your bank starts growing, so the customers also grows. So in order to maintain the database of 1,000 customers, you cannot go and use the same server that you have provisioned for 100 customers. So what you need to do, you need to increase your compute resources. So for that, you need to provision a new server with the new resources. So you have to invest a lot of this on the data centers, as I said earlier in the earlier classes. So in Amazon RDS, you don't want to invest anything and no forefront charges. You simply go to the Amazon DB instance, and you're going to simply add the compute resource. For example, you can add the CPU, you can add the memory, and depending upon the application's demand, you can go and you can add it. The only thing is you need to pay only for the resources that you are using and the required amount of time which you are using the resources. So as I said, this database, I'm giving a simple overview of what is a database. So database is nothing, table of contents with a row and column with different types of data with different fields for different types of data. So I'm going to give you an example of how a database, a part of database looks like. So this is the part of database. So for example, as I said, if you are opening a bank needs a database to be maintained to have the history and name and the account details of a customer. So here it shows a table of contents, which the first column shows you it has 4 columns and 4 rows. So it's 4 by 4. So the first column shows you the ID of a database, that is the database data of that. So first number 1 is the ID, and the number 1 under the ID in the same row, you can see the first name as Ryan. So Ryan is the first name of the customer or the consumer of the bank. Then the surname of him. Hurenberg is the surname of him, and what is the gender? He is a male or female of that. So this row and column can keep on increasing. You can give us address details, you can keep his date of birth, and you can keep his account number, and you can keep his account balance. So like this. So we are going to maintain the same kind of data sheet for n number of people who are the customers of a single bank. So this is the example, the basic example of what a database is. So till now we are using these are the types of database we have gone through, mostly used databases in our data centers or in our current environment. We have a SQL server, that is a kind of database. Oracle is a database, and MySQL server is kind of database. PostgreSQL, and as I said, Amazon has its own database, Aurora and MariaDB. So these are the common databases that are available and that are used in your data centers or in our data centers currently. So there are 2 types of databases, as I said. One type of database is a relational database, and another one is a non-relational database. What is this difference is, we'll tell you later. So this is a non-relational database simply has a collection of documents with variable value key value pairs. So I'm going to show you a non-SQL samples. So this is the SQL sample that we program, and we are going to store this data of a customer inside the database. The first SQL sample, no SQL sample, is it shows the ID of the customer, and the first name of the customer will be Johan, the surname will be Smith, and we are going to maintain the database, the age of the customer and the address, as I said. So these are split up into different rows and columns, and they are maintained in a single database. So as we are talking now about Amazon Web Services, so we are going to see what are the database types that are provided by Amazon as of now. So as we are going to see only relational databases in Amazon. So there are 6 types of relational databases that are provided by Amazon Web Services. So the first one is SQL, SQL, and MySQL, and PostgreSQL, Oracle, Aurora, and MariaDB. DynamoDB, Redshift, all are related services to database, but we'll see in the next coming sessions. So I have said you there are 6 different types of databases provided as a service by Amazon. The first one is Amazon Aurora. So what is Amazon Aurora? It's a relational database engine made by Amazon, which combines the speed and reliability of high-end commercial database with simplicity and cost effectiveness of open source databases. So you know what is open source, right? So a company which has developed a software, and it keeps on implementing new definitions and new upgrades to a software without keeping it under its own tag. For example, a mobile phone which you are using nowadays is Android. So we can say Android is a open source. And what is the difference between Android and owned sources? Owned source, for example, Microsoft is owned by a company, so it will not come under open source. So open source, that is which is freely available and for purchasing, that software is known as open source. So Amazon Aurora is an open source database. So Amazon is claims that Aurora is 5 times faster than RDS MySQL. That RDS MySQL is what is the normal RDS MySQL you are using inside your data center. Then the service and the database that we are getting is from AWS is MySQL. MySQL is also an open source database management system which uses SQL. SQL is nothing as structured query language to access the data stored in its system. So we'll be giving queries. Using queries, we'll be injecting data and we'll be getting the data from the SQL servers. So that is the structured query, and we are following the same query to implementing, to injecting the data, and to retrieve the data from the data stored in its system. So the next one is PostgreSQL. The PostgreSQL is yet another open source database management system which uses the same SQL language or SQL structured query language to access the data. So MySQL and PostgreSQL are nothing different, but the same